Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q2 FY21 earnings conference call of PVR Limited, hosted by Axis Capital Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star, then zero on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Ankur Periwal from Axis Capital Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Rutuja. Good morning, friends, and welcome to PVR Limited Q2 and H1 FY21 earnings call. From the management side, we have with us Mr. Ajay Bijli, promoter, founder, chairman, and MD. Mr. Sanjeev Kumar, promoter, co-founder, and joint MD. Mr. Gautam Datta, CEO, PVR Limited. Mr. Kamal Gyanchandani, Chief of Business Planning and Strategy and CEO, PVR Pictures. Mr. Pramod Arora, Chief Growth and Development Officer, and Mr. Nitin Sood, CFO, PVR Limited. I'll hand it over to Mr. Ajay Bijli for his initial remarks, and then we can open the floor for Q&A session. Ajay, over to you, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to the earnings call to discuss the results of Q2 financial year 2020-21. As you're aware that the cinema industry continued to remain shut throughout Q2 FY21, and our results reflect the same. PVR had almost nil revenues during the quarter from the core movie exhibition business, with almost 100% revenue decline. The company reported losses in Q2 driven by the continuing fixed costs. Consolidated revenues for quarter ended September 30th, 2020 were 111 crores as compared to 979 crores during the corresponding period of last year. Consolidated EBITDA loss for the quarter was 14 crores as against a positive EBITDA of 324 crores in the same period last year. Consolidated loss after tax for the quarter was 184 crores as compared to the profit of 48 crores during the corresponding period last year. After adjusting for impact of Ind AS 116, leases, revenue, EBITDA and PAT of the company would have been 44 crores and minus 81 crores and 116 crores respectively. The company continued with its strategy of aggressively controlling costs as well as augment liquidity. With these efforts, PVR was able to reduce its fixed costs by over 70% in Q2 as compared to Q2 FY20 excluding rent and CAM. Monthly fixed costs excluding rent and CAM dropped to 24 crores in the quarter as against 86 crores in Q2 FY20. PVR is in active engagement with all our development partners for discussions on rent and CAM, and so far settlements have been reached for almost 60% of cinemas, offering complete rent waiver for lockdown period and significant discounts on rent post reopening. Discussions with balance developers are in progress and is expected to close once cinemas are allowed to reopen in those states. PVR has shored up its liquidity using a judicious mix of debt and equity. As on 31st October, the company has over 550 crores of liquidity available, which is sufficient to sustain its operation and meet all our obligations. Ministry of Home Affairs has, in its Unlock 5.0 guidelines, allowed cinemas to reopen from 15th October onwards with 50% capacity. So far, 16 states and UTs where PVR has presence have permitted cinemas to restart operations. Out of a total of 831 screens of the company, 575 plus have received permission to reopen. We are eagerly awaiting now for the reopening of other states, specifically Maharashtra and Telangana, so that business can gradually get back to normal. We are taking all possible precautions so that both our customers and employees feel safe while visiting their favorite PVR cinema. PVR is welcoming back its patrons with several celebrity promotions and offers, opportunity for private screenings, film festivals, and a fresh new menu to make movie watching experience totally delightful. Many of our patrons have responded positively, and we're fully prepared to give them the same immersive movie viewing experience the way we had done before. We are hopeful that once the new content is released, the business will gradually recover We are thankful to all our stakeholders, including developers, producers, investors, bankers, and most importantly, employees who have stood with us during these unprecedented times. Thank you very much, and I'd now leave the floor for any Q&A.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and two. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Abhishek Bhandari from Macquarie. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. I just had one question, on slide number 13, where you've spoken about rent waivers for the lockdown period and significant reduction going after that. So could you just give us some ballpark number, what kind of rent reduction you expect, over next few months and few years? And is the reduction only applicable for FY21 or beyond?
Yeah, so I'll answer that question. See, currently all the rent negotiations are focusing on the current financial year. Till the time we expect the business to bounce back, we are not doing any long-term rent negotiations currently. We are only focusing on the current financial year. As we said, in 60% of our cinemas where, we've got permissions to open, most of the cinemas we've reached settlements. We've got a complete waiver of rent during the lockdown period. And rental reductions. Rental reductions are in different forms. It's difficult to quantify a number. In a lot of our cinemas, we've got a pure revenue share till the end of this financial year. In some cases, we've got discounts on the minimum guaranteed rental. So what that blended discount number will look like is difficult to predict. But our estimate is it will be in excess of 50% discount over the MG rentals. It will be slightly higher than that in this quarter, could be slightly lower in the last quarter. But I think we'll be in a better position to answer that question specifically once all our negotiations close for rest of the properties.
Sure. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abneesh Roy from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi Nitin and team. So my first question is on Sri Lanka and West Bengal. So we have seen good data in the festive period in Bengal and Assam. So if you could tell us in these markets in Bengal, Assam and Sri Lanka, after the initial very good data point or in the festive season good data point, how have things panned out? And did you give the 25% off on F&B even in the festive season in Bengal, Assam?
Yes, we did. There were many prize and F&B promotions, those were run. For all the old content, we played films between the price tag of about 75 to 125 rupees, but largely in most of the cinemas under 100 rupees. And the new content played on the pre-COVID level in terms of ATP, but SPH was discounted so that we wanted people to come and experience the new order of planning that we had done in the F&B counter.
Kamal, would you like to comment on the specific occupancy?
Yeah. Bengal turned out to be a good lab test. Not so much holds true for Assam because Bengali films are moderate in Assam, not a very big ticket, in terms of content in Assam. But
आप जिस व्यक्ति से बात कर रहे हैं, उन्होंने आपके कॉल को होल्ड पर रखा है. कृपया लाइन पर बने रहिए. The person you are speaking with has put your.
Can I continue?
Yeah, I think you were interrupted. You're back now.
Okay, so Bengal turned out to be a good lab test. We had about 6 new films which released around Durga Puja. Two of these films, most of them were small, but two of these films were, I would say, slightly towards the mid-size range, and they did quite well. Throughout those 5 or 6 days when the Durga Puja is at its peak, people tend to go out, very similar to the behavior that we tend to see after Diwali for north and west of India and also the rest of India. Those 5 or 6 days were very aggressive in terms of capacity utilization. Most of the shows ran with almost 100%, close to 100% occupancy. And when I say 100% occupancy, I mean within the 50% capacity that we are permitted to sell. Within that, we were able to clock 100% occupancy. I must also add that these films, as I mentioned before, were mid-size films. So none of the regular big-ticket films that we are used to releasing around Durga Puja in Bengali language were not there. Those have been postponed to December or to January. But this lab test turned out to be a big success, and we are expecting some more new Bengali films to release in November, later in December. But clearly the signals that we've got from the audiences are extremely positive. Sri Lanka at this point in time is again shut. There is a government directive which came out about 2 weeks back, which suggested that cinemas and malls should remain shut. So at this point, Colombo is not operational.
So 2 follow-ups here. One, you mentioned big budget Bengali movies will come in December, Jan. And you also mentioned mostly it was going till 50% allowed capacity. So my question is, are the big budget essentially waiting for that 50% relaxation to be done? And since you're getting on when 50% relaxation will be removed in states where already a few weeks of opening has happened, so could there be a precursor from say other forms of retail where you can pick up? So if the relaxation has happened, maybe multiplex can also get that relaxation say after 1 month.
We are extremely keen to pursue this matter and get this relaxation as early as possible. We are constantly in touch with various government officials. But at this point, I think I'll just pause and say that we are making our best efforts, but we'll have to wait and see in terms of timeline. We don't see it happening this quarter, and we are hoping that in the fourth quarter, some of the relaxation will come about. The other question that you had with respect to big films for relaxation to go away, no, that's not the sense that we are getting. I think most producers, including South Indian producers, are fairly comfortable with the 50% capacity, because we also have to keep in mind that cinemas don't have any backlog content. So in terms of capacity, in terms of shows, screens that we allocate to brand new films is much more than what we are used to normally. So answer to your question is that most producers are comfortable with the 50% capacity.
Right. My second question is on the employee front. Almost 45% cut in number of employees. So are you now, when screens are opening, are you now shifting to variable employee base? So is that a way forward, and there could be cost savings even when screens open? And could you discuss some more costs which have come in the non-Bengal market? How you have managed to cut costs there, because screens are with 2-3% occupancy. So how you are managing costs in those states?
So you're right, we've cut down on manpower drastically, in the sense, if you include housekeeping and security, we were close to about 14,000 employees, and currently we've opened with about 6,600 employees. We hope to maintain this level going forward. However, with new cinemas and territories opening, this number will change. But largely, from the pre-COVID levels, we will operate the cinema at about 60% employee base. Most of our employees were anyway on off-roll or variable costs. And so very clearly, till the time business does not return to the pre-COVID levels. We are not ramping up our people's costs.
Right. And last question on private screening, anything to share? Any good data points? Second, Delhi again, COVID cases have hit all-time high. So consumer behavior in Delhi, how is it? I understand it was anyway 2-3% because no new movies. But are you worried that again COVID cases are coming back in terms of wave 2 in some of the cities?
Yes, in a way, but the fact is when you go out and look at what's happening to malls, restaurants and hotels, and we are keenly looking at that data and the consumer response there, we believe that consumer is taking enough and more caution and at least when he enters any such spaces, he knows exactly the protocol that needs to be followed. We believe once the content comes in, like the malls, we will also get enough and more footfall, and that is something. This is a new normal. This SOP is kind of driven in. Consumers are very clear on what they need to do if they are stepping out of home, and the malls over the weekend and some other days are fully packed. So the fact is, we believe once we get the content, we'll be able to push the consumers to our floors as well.
And private screening?
Private screening, we are close to about 340 odd private screening pan-India in the circuit. And we believe this is a great idea that came out of this pandemic, and we don't only intend to push it currently. It would be a product now on our charts going forward. And what this has also done is it takes the focus away from the content. It gets really into an area of PVR exclusive experience. And this is what the consumers have come back and relate to us, that it's so wonderful to come and get my friends and family with a small group of 12 to 15 people and get an exclusive screening. So people are also doing screenings of other content other than movies, like their wedding, tapes and anniversaries and birthdays are being kind of celebrated. So I believe we've created yet another product which is here to stay for a long time.
But your screens are much bigger, right? So you charge per screen basis. Their per seat basis doesn't make sense.
We are charging per screen, but we are giving an exclusive Audi even at about a 30% occupancy as against a 50% as allowed by the government.
Okay, thanks. That's all from me, and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to ensure that the management is able to address questions from all participants in the conference, please limit your question to 2 per participant. Should you have a follow-up question, we would request you to rejoin the queue. The next question is from the line of Kinjal Desai from Nippon India Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. I wanted to understand now, with the new content coming through, if there are any changes in negotiation with producers, both with respect to their share as well as the windowing that we have.
So, can you answer this?
Sure. These are, ma'am, sensitive discussions. We would not like to delve into details, but what I can share with you is that because there is a capacity cap, there could be some minor changes here or there till the capacity cap is there at the cinemas. But on a long-term basis, we don't see any meaningful change with respect to the established norms, commercial terms, windows, and the other practices that we have between producers and the exhibitors.
This would include even the window that we have, before it goes on to for satellite or OTT.
We don't expect any meaningful change in that. Window is a sacrosanct long-term business model which has benefited both producers and exhibitors alike. We see absolutely no reason why windows should change, and so that's what we'll have to say.
Sure. And slightly on a longer-term basis, that we do have some content which is there right now with us, for probably for the from a longer term basis, if I were to ask you on an 18-month base per se, do you see that there can be a challenge in terms of the content which is getting, which might still have to start or something in terms of liquidity for the producers? They might not to invest much, probably looking for more of OTT kind of content rather than going for very large, big, theatrical content. So, just your thoughts on how do you expect to see beyond the current content pipeline?
This is a very good question, but the way things are shaping up, in fact, during the pandemic, the number of projects which have been put together, film projects, in terms of scripts which have been okayed by the actors, production plans which have been put in place by the producers, are very, very strong in terms of numbers. Actors seem to be extremely interested in going out and shooting multiple films. Actors who typically shot 1 or 2 films in 12 to 18 months want to do 3 or 4 films now. So I think this pandemic has given an opportunity to the creative talent to pause, look at the material which is available, and really work on creative material in a very in-depth manner, and which will probably expedite a lot of shoots once producers have an opportunity to freely start shooting. But in any case, a lot of producers have started shooting. We've been in touch with producers. We've been speaking to a lot of people about the new protocols which have come into practice as a result of COVID. And producers seem to have got their act together. They seem to have made peace with the new protocols. There are films which are being shot overseas, and there are also films which are being shot in India. So in terms of a number of films getting impacted, we don't see that to be a big impact. In terms of cash flow, frankly, at this point, producers have more opportunities to slice and dice their content. So their cash flow, if anything, has in fact improved because the streaming platforms have come up and bid very aggressively for content. And as a result of that, so cash flow is not, it doesn't seem cash flow would be a big problem, but we'll have to wait and see for a couple of more months. We don't see any impact, the way we're looking at the situation, we don't see any impact of liquidity in terms of scale of films or in terms of quantity of films.
Sure. Just one last, your thoughts on, the way OTTs have been acquiring content. So before we were hearing that, when the pandemic started, there was a lot of aggression, and now that seems to have slowed down. They become a little more choosy about where they are investing. So do you see that there can be some kind of, reset in or going to the old way of, buying of content for them? Just your thoughts on how you are seeing their content acquisition strategy kind of planning out.
So, absolutely. I mean, we see a reset in that because we've always maintained that this strategy of taking films directly to a streaming platform is not a sustainable strategy. Not sustainable for the streaming platform and not even sustainable for the producers. And there has been a recent structural change in a large media company. They have decided to deprioritize acquisition of expensive films for their streaming platform. And clearly the cracks in that strategy are visible. Clearly producers, streaming platforms are questioning the entire viability of releasing an expensive film directly on streaming platform, and producers are questioning the fact that if this is the best way to monetize their content, a film on which they have spent 18, 24 months of their life, if this is the best way to monetize, a lot of producers are questioning that. We don't see this direct to streaming platform release to sustain I would say beyond next 3 to 6 months. definitely by the next financial year, there would be a big reset, and we would go back to releasing films theatrically and then taking it out on the other platforms. What we do certainly see is that a lot of streaming platforms will continue to produce original content, which is essentially films which will be commissioned by the streaming platforms, which would be initiated by producers, which would be commissioned and funded by the streaming platforms, and which will release directly on streaming platforms. So we see a lot of those, but we don't see them coming at the cost of theatrical releases. We see producers expanding their portfolio, producing more film to accommodate this new demand, but we don't see these originals being produced at the cost of theatrical releases.
Sure. Thank you so much and all the very best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jinesh Joshi from Prabhudas Lilladher. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, if you can just highlight what is the timeline with respect to reopening in Maharashtra, that would be really helpful. And secondly, also, is there any fresh content that is lined up during Diwali time? If you can share a few names on that front.
So, Maharashtra, basis feedback that we've got from the government, while there is no official order that's come out of the government, but we are fairly confident that Maharashtra would be permitted to reopen in November and most likely before Diwali. So that's first part of your question. The second part, in terms of films which are slated for Diwali release, there is one film which has been announced, which is Surat Pe Mangal Bhari. This is a Hindi film, which is with a very famous, popular Punjabi actor, Daljit, and there is also Manoj Bajpayee. This is a film which has been announced for Diwali, but we have to see when Maharashtra's permission comes out to reopen cinemas and how ready we are in terms of cinema openings. But at this point, the way things stand, this is the film which is coming on Diwali.
Okay. And sir, secondly, I know that it is slightly early to kind of gauge any kind of trend in this case, considering that cinemas have opened on 15th of October. But say, for example, 10 people are stepping into our cinemas. How many are actually buying our F&B products, and how does this figure compare to the pre-COVID level? Any ballpark number you would like to share?
Yeah, so it's very early days right now, I think, and we are running a lot of discounts and promotions right now, but we are not seeing any significant impact on our F&B spends. In fact, our F&B spends based on very small numbers that we are doing right now is almost 75% of what our pre-COVID level were, and that's largely due to huge discounting and promotions that we are running. But our general feedback is that we are not seeing any reluctance on part of the consumers to hit the candy bar. Our strike rates have not fallen, and clearly I think that doesn't seem to be a big concern area right now.
Okay. So one last question. Any specific reason for not renewing the leases on 14 screens that expired during the quarter?
Yeah, most of these leases had come to the expiry of the terms, and most of these properties had virtually come to the end of life cycle for those properties, and we have better locations in the vicinity. So clearly, we did not want to renew these leases because some of these properties had kind of run their course and were very marginal profits or loss making. That was the prime reason.
Okay, so basically this is a one-off case and this should not be expected in the coming quarters, right?
No, I think at the end of every life cycle of every property, we renew we take a view whether it is worth renewing or not. Sometimes better malls and better shopping centers have already opened in the vicinity, and we don't see any long-term viability of those properties. Then we proactively take a call and shut down those locations because they are anyway not contributing to the profitability in a significant manner.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Harshit Toshniwala from Premji Invest. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Two questions, sir. One is, so clearly, I think things will start opening from Q3, and maybe if in Q4, if we take a 10 to 15% kind of an occupancy level, just wanted to understand that what is your estimate of cash burn, which we might see in the H2, and our liquidity position versus that. And so second, more from a longer term outlook, that I think there was a pipeline in FY21 for screen additions. Possibly it will happen in early FY22, but in post FY21, how do you see the average screen increase and run rate? And also, so if malls, if the outlook on malls is not very bright, maybe in the next 3 to 4 years, then in that context, how important will it be to look at the screens of competition if they are out for sale? Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll answer your first question first, which is really to say how do we expect cash burn over the next 6 months. As we reopen screens, clearly the amount of expenses will go up.
Right.
Whether it is employee costs, whether it is some of the temporary salary cuts we had taken for people as we were shut, or whether it is some bit of a rental expense. But we will try and keep our expenses in check as much as possible during the next 6 months. I think cash burn is a function of how soon the occupancy will bounce back. So it's difficult to put an exact number to say how much will the cash burn be. I think that's a difficult number to quantify. We expect Q3 cash burn to go up. We are hoping that given that we are operating at a much lower fixed cost, if more films and content is announced, the focus in Q4 will be to get down to break even and reduce the cash burn. So we'll have to see how that plays out. On your second question of growth, etc. next year, I think at this point of time we are I think taking the position quarter on quarter. Our focus is to complete the properties which were either fitted out 70-80% or we had shut down temporarily for renovation, get them up and running. Clearly we see the industry consolidating even further. Smaller operators will find it even tougher to survive. There will be more opportunities in terms of shopping malls that have got built up and suddenly want to work with larger operators. But I think we will start making capital commitments around that only once we have clarity on the business front, once business bounces back. Needless to say, the pipeline is very, very large that we have signed, and we expect, I think that pipeline will grow even bigger given the fact that the real estate developers would want to work now increasingly with the large scale operators. But I think we'll be in a better position to answer this question probably towards end of Q4.
Right. Got it. And maybe just one third question. So on the liquidity part, we have 350 crore in 370 crore in cash right now. How do you see this liquidity standing in the next 5 to 6 months or in the medium term?
Yeah. So we've have additional credit lines, and as on date we've showed up our liquidity to about 550 crores. Our net debt position remains the same, about 1,000 crores of net debt, and a liquidity position now is about 550 crores. We've availed additional credit lines.
So this additional credit line is post 2Q. You're saying it's in the.
It is post the end of the quarter.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. All the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Saravesh Gupta from Maximal Capital. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. So, sir, first question is, on the rent and camps side, you mentioned that you have had negotiations with most of them. Is there any more color that you can do on the expected rent in let's say Q4? What is the expectation post all these negotiations? Will we be on 100% revenue share, and what would be the sort of weighted average number on revenues that you may get to?
No, it's very difficult to put an exact number. As I said, of the deals that we managed to negotiate, a large part of those deals are on revenue share, and similarly, a large part of those deals are discount to rent. So it's difficult to quantify, what the exact percentage would be. But I think between now to March, we expect more than a 50% discount on the lease rentals. What exactly that number will play out to be, whether it will turn out to be a 60% or a 50% or a 45%, is slightly difficult to comprehend or put an exact number to, given large part of those deals are on revenue share. And we still have some negotiations which are pending closure. But we expect, overall discount from opening till March to be in excess of 50%.
Okay. And for the month of October, so do you have a like-to-like comparison of occupancy, compared to, let's say, last October? So I'm
No, I think, as I said, since the time we opened, it's very, very insignificant occupancies. Our occupancies are in the range of about 4 to 5%, mid-single digits. So the comparison is not relevant because most of our screens are not even fully operational and we have no content. I think that comparison will only become relevant when everything is open and we have new content to start showing in the screen.
No, for the screens which were open in October, only for those screens, if we have to look at occupancy compared to...
Insignificant numbers. I would say they will be down by about 90-95%.
To be seen in isolation without new content doesn't make sense at all. So that's the issue.
Okay. Understood, sir. All the best for the coming quarters. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vipul Garg from Kotak. Please go ahead. Mr. Vipul Garg, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Yeah. Sir, a couple of questions. First of all, that with the opening of cinema halls, what is the employee count increase which we are seeing and the jump in employee expense in last 14 days? Then secondly, as per the H1 results, there seems to be some capex about 50 odd crores done in H1. So what exactly it is? And along with the capex, what we see is that number of screens have simultaneously fallen from 845 to 831 in this Q2. So if you throw some light on that. And was any rentals paid for these screens shut?
So let me comment on question number 2 and 3 first. The capex really represents our capital creditors for capex on screens done last year or some of the screens which are advanced stage of renovation fit out. So it really represents that. On your third question, which was around shutdown of screens, I commented earlier. We shut down 3 properties with 14 screens where leases had come to the end of their life cycle. We saw no merit in renewing these leases because these properties had run their life cycle and either had a negative EBITDA or very marginal EBITDA. We didn't see any long-term viability in continuing with these properties. Your first question, coming back to your first question on employee cost, we've started the operation with about 6,500 people, as we said, which is what the headcount was on 30th of September. We don't intend to ramp up this headcount till the time we see occupancies really coming back.
Yeah, but the important thing here to see is the percentage that we will open the cinemas at 60% of our employee headcount and cost as compared to the pre-COVID level. So we will hover around 50 to 60% even as occupancy kind of ramps up. But it will be a tedious calculation to tell you what would be the ramp-up cost given the fact that more screens will open now going forward.
And employee costs, like you said, will definitely go up, but because we'll be rolling back some of the salary cuts for our frontline staff as we open up, and also slowly for some of our other staff. But I think it's difficult to put an exact number because we're taking some of these decisions on a month-on-month basis, and cinema opening is still, structured over a period of weeks. So it's difficult to put an exact number, but I think they will be significantly lower than what it was in a similar period last year, at least for the rest of the financial year as well.
Sir, actually my question was that now we have since are having a trend of about 2 weeks. So what would be the say the cash burn increase because of these 500 odd screens opening up in form of the employee cost and the rent?
Yeah, difficult to measure and comment on that number. I think we'll be better position to answer it only in the end of the quarter.
Okay. And sir, last question that if we see your September results vis-a-vis the March thing, though there have been substantial recovery in the receivables, but still some 20-25% receivables are still pending. So are they stuck or some negotiations are going on for bad debt part or something?
Not really. It's just that these are retail advertisers and a few others. They will all come eventually. It's just a matter of their business is also badly hit. Our paperwork, all that is in place. So all the monies that you see will be recoverable over the next 3 months. But if you see a sizable amount has already been collected, and this too shall come over the next couple of months.
Okay, fine. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shantanu Basu from SMIFS. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. Sir, this would really help if you can give a brief idea about the current ATP in India, and also if you can talk about the XPH to ATP ratio for F&B and your advertisement revenue, if any. And how do you see the ATP and the occupancy trends going forward?
So Shantanu, are you asking for question for the month of October?
Yes, please. When the cinemas have opened, yes.
Yeah, so Shantanu, as we mentioned in the in the past on the call, basically currently we're running a lot of promotion offers to get consumers to come back. So ATPs are obviously reflecting that. So they are obviously significantly lower than what our average ATPs are. We are running sort of offers of 99 rupees. You can come and watch a movie and plus various private screening. So the ATPs are sub 150 rupees at the moment. And ATP,
but the ratio between an SPH and ATP are being maintained.
Yeah.
So technically that's a good pointer. Those percentage, in fact, is getting only healthier than what it was, which clearly shows that when people get in, they are wanting to eat. But advertising is a completely a non-starter as of now. It will take a couple of months before we get some big films and then the advertising revenues would kick in.
Okay. And when do you expect some sort of normalization in the ATP and occupancy?
So when do you expect?
Normalization of ATP and SPH.
I think it will all be linked to the flow of content. So if you look at it in sequence, Mumbai needs to open up, followed by new content coming in. Even now, the Bengali content was played on the pre-COVID level, so we do not intend discounting or increasing ATP pricing once we get the new content. So I guess in about 4 to 5 weeks from the time when Mumbai opens up and new content begins to flow, you would see that we would be hitting the same pre-COVID ATP and SPH numbers.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Yogesh Kirve from B&K Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks a lot for the opportunity. So just trying to understand our disclosures a little well. So we have finalized sort of a negotiations with 60% of developers. But elsewhere in the notes we have mentioned that the total rent concession which have been finalized is about 97 crore for first half. So that roughly works out to 40% of the normalized rent for the first half. So any light on that?
Yeah. So if you look at the new accounting standard, Ind AS 116, it talks about the fact that you can account for rent concessions whether for the current period or for the rest of the year if they are unconditional in nature during the period when you sign those agreements. So if I did a rent concession agreement understanding before 30th of September, only then I can account for it in my books. Otherwise, I'll have to wait and account for it in the next quarter. So accounting is quite confusing. So if you look at the rent concessions that we've accounted for in the books, that number is totaling to about
95 crores.
95 odd crores.
Yeah.
And if you look at a footnote that we mentioned in the results, in addition to that, till the time we reported our results, there are additional rent concessions worth
94 crores.
94 crores, yeah, that we've agreed. So you'll have to look at it as a cumulative number. Some of these rent concessions that we've agreed to post 30th September will get accounted for in subsequent quarter. And again, the accounting standard is confusing. It says if I've got something where I've got a discount on a minimum guaranteed rent for the next 4 months, because I can calculate what the rent concession is, you have to account for it when you sign that agreement. If it is a revenue share, you can't account for it because you don't know what the rent concession will translate into. So you will have to account for it later. So I think you will have to examine it on a cumulative basis. The 60% number that we mentioned here is based on the properties where we've reached a settlement, broadly approximate number, and that number is changing on an everyday basis.
So just to add on this, so roughly 97 crores which you have booked in first half, this would also include the concessions with respect to the period post the basically post the first half as well, is it?
Yeah, in some properties, yes, where it is not a revenue share, it is a discount.
Right. Okay. Are we also looking at any concessions in the CAM post reopening? CAM rate?
So once we reopen, I think there will be some concessions, but we don't expect that to be significant concessions because it's the actual cost on operating of shopping malls for most of the shopping mall guys. So post reopening, the rent concessions are there, but they are very small in number as compared to the rent concessions that we were able to get during the pre-COVID period.
Right. And so lastly, more from a strategic perspective, so this lockdown and shutdown would have given you opportunity to do a zero-based budgeting for the cost. So do you anticipate any room for cost savings from a structural, from a long-term sustainable basis going ahead in terms of the fixed cost per screen?
Yes, you're right. A lot of introspection was done on all the cost aspects, including personnel. As I said, that's one of the reasons why we have opened the cinemas with about 55-57% headcount, and we'll be very careful in ramping this number up. And we believe on a long term, but I think we'll be able to give a better guidance once things stabilize. But yes, we'll be extremely conscious, and we would want to have a considerable saving on this account going forward.
Sure, sir. Thanks a lot for the responses and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit Dukania from DAM Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. I just have two questions. One is, let's assume that if Maharashtra. Sorry, we can't hear you, Rohit.
I'm sorry, but the line of Mr. Rohit got disconnected.
Okay.
We'll go to the next question, which is from the line of Aditya Kondawar from JSP Investments. Please go ahead.
Oh, hi, sir. My questions have been answered. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Arun Prasad from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I have just one question.
Given the guidance that you have given that 50% of the rental concessions have been agreed for most of the properties, and if I do some back of the envelope calculations, what I get is close to your liquidity. You will be probably going short by somewhere around March or April. So just wanted to understand, do you have any contingency plan for next capital raise, either in terms of equity or debt, and what sort of plans you have as a, say, kind of plan B?
No, we would like not to comment on it, but if as of now we have sufficient liquidity to tide over the next 6 to 8 months, if we think that the business needs more adequate liquidity, the board will decide and raise additional capital if required.
Okay. Just on the back of this liquidity management, just wanted to understand what is the need or urgency to do the fit-out capex that is being done in the first half? Because clearly that could have waited, or is there anything prompted us to finish it, some favorable conditions, anything like that?
No. So as I said earlier, most of the capex that we are doing this year pertains to already work done, where we are making payment to creditors, work already done. So this is payment for those creditors, and in some cases where some of our cinemas are 70% complete and are ready to open, we have to finish those sites and do that. Barring that, there is no other capex being incurred.
So will this repeat in the second half, or it is mostly a past payments and it won't repeat?
No, it will continue in the second half as well, because we have capital creditors for a lot of 87 screens that we built last year. Some of those capital creditors are ready, and some about 20 to 30 screens which are ready to open, which have been completed 70-80%, and there is capital creditor payments for that.
Got it. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Harshit Toshniwal from Premji Invest. Please go ahead.
Hi. Just one more question. So you said that you have closed 14 cinemas because they were not profitable and their lease was expiring. Barring the COVID, on a normalized maybe FY20 basis, so what percentage of our screen count would be maybe EBITDA neutral or EBITDA loss making? And so can we see more consolidation and reduction in terms of our existing portfolio, make overall pool look more profitable?
Yeah, so let me answer a question on properties which were profitable in FY20. I think, in our case, we've been able to run a circuit which is extremely profitable and widely spread, sort of diversified presence in both in terms of geographical presence as well as financial performance. So not more than 4 to 5% of our portfolio, which also includes some of the screens which have been recently opened, are loss-making at EBITDA level. In terms of long-term trend, I think it's too early to say. As Nitin mentioned earlier in the call, it is quite likely that this pandemic will lead to greater consolidation in the industry, with developers also looking to work with more stronger established players. And that could play out, as things sort of normalize.
So basically 4 to 5, around 40 screens is at present of the 830 screens, around 4 to 5% are ones which are maybe EBITDA neutral or break loss making, which at some point of time never leave it.
Which are not breaking even at EBITDA level. And this also, as I said, also includes properties which have been recently opened.
Newly. Got it. Sure. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ashish Kanodia from Ambit Capital. Please go ahead.
So, sir, you talked about that the cash burn might increase over the next 6 months, and of course there will be a shortage of content at least during 3Q, and the footfalls will be muted as well. So, is there a strategy to operate only limited number of screens? So, for example, if you have 3 screens in a 6 or 7 square kilometer radius, you would be operating only 1 or 2.
Yes, we are doing a demand and supply analysis. In most of the cases, we are opening auditoriums, but the number of shows is what we are playing with. because we've opened the cinema after a long time. We needed the air circulation and the entire processes to settle down. So to your question, largely all screens are open. It's just that the number of shows may vary between 1 to 3 in different auditoriums.
Yeah, till the time we don't have enough content. Yes.
Okay. So fair to say that almost all the 70% of the screens for which you have received the permissions are operating, but only 2 or 3 shows are being aired versus, if I'm not wrong, it used to be 4.5 or 5 per screen previously, right?
Yeah, that number used to be over 5 pre-COVID, yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amit Jain from Samsung EMC. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for taking my question. Wanted to get a sense, in this revenue share that you've sort of agreed with developers, I mean, once things normalize, I mean, do they also partake in the upside then, or they sort of revert back to the old sort of rental mechanism there? I mean, how does this work out from a 1 to 2 year perspective?
Yeah, most of these arrangements are valid till 31st March, and currently all our discussions are till the end of this financial year. There is no change broadly in most of the cases beyond 31st March.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. As there are no further questions, I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Ankur Periwal for closing comments.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, management, for giving us the opportunity to host this call. Gautam, Nitin, would you like to add any closing remarks?
Yeah, I'd just like to say to thank everyone for taking time out to attend the call. And the situation is evolving. We are hopeful that a couple of other states which we are waiting for will soon open, and we'll have better news to share in the next quarter as we get more cinemas open. So hoping for the best. Thanks.
Thank you. On behalf of Axis Capital Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.
आप जिस व्यक्ति से बात कर रहे हैं उन्होंने